Welcome to Paddlecast with Betsy
and Billy. On Paddlecast, we talk to and about paddlers who are pushing limits, paddlers who are pushing their own limits and pushing limits of paddle sports. Today, we are recapping the Marathon World Championships that just wrapped up on Sunday in Gyor, Hungary. I was there for the Masters racing and managed to stay for the short course events. Betsy, you were there covering all 4 days of racing.
Yeah, I had the best time getting to watch the racing firsthand, getting to interview some of the biggest names in the sport, and just getting to meet some of these absolutely amazing athletes from all over the world in a really cool place. It was really cool. I loved it.
Yeah, it was great to race on a course as interesting and as technical as that. Getting the turns right in a group was great fun. One interesting quirk of Masters racing was recognizing names of people that I've raced years ago. And then when I stayed on for the main championships, I actually found myself watching children of people I'd been racing in the days previously.
It's really cool. I always love seeing multiple generations passing down paddling. And one of the things that I hadn't realized, but I learned during the course of the racing, was that Lily Kalashvari, who was one of the standouts in the junior girls racing, is the daughter of Renata Che, a huge marathon legend. I think 20 world championship titles. And Lily's brother Bruno did well too. And I think, definitely some up and coming junior names to look out for. So let's get into the racing. We are going to talk about the event in 3 parts. So first, what were the most exciting races? Second, who were some of our biggest standout paddlers? And finally, some overarching reflections. So starting with which races were the most exciting, Billy, what is your pick for most exciting race?
Yeah, I actually changed my mind about this as I was thinking about it. Initially, it was the men's K2. The level was just so high. I was really hoping to see Pimenta and Romaglio dethroned, purely for the excitement value that would give. And Adrian Boros and Tamas Erdely gave such a great race. They kept their powder dry. They didn't get involved in any fights, and all leading into that final portage. But deep down, no one really expected anyone to challenge the power that Pimenta puts in that K2. And I think we all thought they were going to win and defend their title successfully. So the race wasn't really as dramatic as it looked. After Mad's performances at the K1, we knew that they would be well up there, him and Philip Knudsen. But there was the doubts of how tired he would be. But they were right up there, and it was still a really good sprint finish. Great tactics on the final portage from Adrian and Erdely.
Yeah, absolutely. So we had talked to Adrian Boras before the race in our preview episode, which was great. And you had specifically asked him, Billy, like, do you have anything special planned? Because you were like, it's going to take something. We all know to actually have a shot at beating Pimenta and Romaglio, it's going to take something big, something, unexpected. Boras told us no, but he absolutely did have something planned, which was really cool to see in real time, because I was standing at the takeout of the portage. So the final bit of the course was the last portage. You come into the portage, you take out of the portage, and then you go upriver around this turn around, and then you finish downstream. And the whole thing takes Boras, because we've had a chance to talk to him again now, and he said, they estimated about 2 minutes. And I was standing there at the put-in, so I could see the put-in and then see the final turn. And I was trying to get a good angle to film from. And there was a guy who comes around, like a young Hungarian guy, who's like kind of pushing me back. And I was like, no, like I've, been filming from this position all week. Like I'm well back from where the paddlers are putting their boats back in the water. I know that I need to stay out of the way. Like I'm in a good spot. And he was really like pushing me back. And I was like, okay, like I think that, and there was another guy filming there too. And then sure enough, Boris and Erdely put in on the final portage. They ran all the way up, like next to where I was standing, and they put their boat in like 2 feet right in front of me. I mean, I was out of the way, thank God, because I saw it happening and had this guy warning me. But I was like, oh my God. So it was absolutely that like sneaky tactical last minute move to try and take the win from the Portuguese. Oh my God, just being there and literally getting like shoved out of the way and then splashed. It was really cool.
It nearly worked, didn't it? I think if they'd have been slightly closer on the get out, I think that might well have worked.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think the Portuguese led into, I want to say they led into every portage. I'd have to
I
double
think they
check that,
did.
but
Yeah, it
yeah.
was pretty much. Yeah,
Yeah. So
yeah.
it's tough. They're a good crew.
Oh yeah, of course. And they've got the firepower to lead when they want to.
Yeah. And then, and so you've had a chance to actually talk to Boris about this now. So what did he say?
So yeah, I spoke to Adrian, and here's my conversation with him. Hey Adrian, great watching you at these World Championships. Really cool. How did these championships go from the host nation's point of view?
So this World Champs was, I think, the high level World Champs. Everything went well. I think all the nation was happy to be here and compete here. The previous World Champs was like no water, and the 2007 World Champs was high water level. So it wasn't that good like now, because now they fixed the water level here, and it was like an average water level. So I think it was a best part of everyone to compete here, same water level. So yeah, the organization was also good, and the crowd is like crazy here.
What was your best moment?
I think my best moment was the K2 last portage. That was our key for trying the win, because from the portage to the finish was like 2 minutes, so it was a last chance to try it, and it's almost worked. Just the Portuguese was stronger than us or faster than us, and I think that was my best moment.
What was your hardest moment?
The hardest part was our race is always the start. So I think we really managed it to be good on that. We practiced a lot, but it was still the hardest moment for us.
What was your standout memory from the racing?
I think my standout moment was like racing here, front of our crowd. All my friends was here, all my family was here, watching me for racing, which is not usual, because usually the World Champs is a little bit far from our country. So I think that was the best to race here.
Did anyone across these championships impress you?
Yes, Mats Petersen K1 racing was like really impressed me. It's just a good performance from him, and I think he's a good athlete, and I never seen before someone who is breakaway that early moment of the race, like before the first portage, and he could keep doing what he's doing. So yeah, I think he's really impressed me.
That was great to hear from Adrian Boros. He is such a masterful tactician. He's probably one of the most experienced paddlers out there at this stage now, having raced at the top level for the last 10 years. It was really interesting that he picked out the start being the hardest moment. It was, very obvious from practicing on the course early in the week that, you had to be in the right place on that first turn. And on the camera, those starts look fairly easy, and the paddlers sort of make it look fairly easy. But in reality, it is up close, tight racing, and it's so stressful. Well, for me, it is. I'm sure there's some people that probably think it's okay, but it's hard.
Yeah. I mean, even from where I was watching the start, sort of from across the river, it's clear that it's like just so many boats so close together going so fast. And the pressure to get up front is crazy. And there were definitely several start lines where people did fall in on the starts. So even experienced paddlers. Yeah. It's tough.
Like in previous championships, you've got races where actually being on the front in that first lap isn't very important, and you can wait, But this race, it all came down to that. And we've seen in previous years, Adrian Boros never used to really worry about being on the front until the first, major feature. He would come to the front around the time of that first portage, and sometimes not make the front group until laps 2 or 3 maybe. And here, he obviously knew that how vital it was. And that senior men's K2 race, the front 3 were pretty much on the front from the start.
Yeah, it's true. And it did change, some races looked similar to that with the same sort of smaller front group for a lot of it. And other times we did see more things change around in order after that first lap. Yeah. I think, Boris did talk about how well the race did go from a Hungarian point of view, and the course being even better than in previous years that it's hosted. I was so impressed by everything from the event to the course to the town of I'm working on my pronunciation, and I think it's something like Gyor, from the one lesson that I received. Yeah, but I'm sure that's still not quite right. But it was just a really, really well run event. I would go back there really any day. It was so impressive, and just a great World Championships.
I think the course was perfect. I don't think you wouldn't want it any more technical from a marathon racing perspective, but it's such a welcome change from some of the sterile courses that have been dished out in previous years. Like even maybe like the World Games course, there wasn't much going on there. Yeah, there were a lot of turns and it was short laps, but this course was fun to race on and really fun to watch.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I mean, that was what I heard from the paddlers too. Everyone had such good things to say about the course, and it really, I think you had predicted it beforehand too, but there were just no boring moments. There was nowhere that you're just out there chilling, paddling. It was always something interesting going on, which was really cool. Well, that men's K2 race, I know we were both kind of rooting for those Hungarians to take it, especially, just to keep things interesting, prove that the Portuguese were beatable, and to do it on home turf. Unfortunately, we didn't quite get that. They did still take, I think it was the bronze medal in that race, and the Danish boat took silver. But if that men's K2 race didn't end up being your top most exciting race of the weekend, which one was it?
It was the senior women's K2. So I watched this, and at one point I was really annoyed that the there wasn't much of a race behind the front group, but actually Jenna and Jade fighting back made that sort of much more interesting. I wanted to see a big chase pack behind the front group, but what made it most exciting for me was I genuinely had no idea which crew was going to win between those top three. And I kept changing who I wanted to win as well out of them.
I felt the same. I was just incomplete, like truly any of those top three crews, and maybe that sort of fourth crew from South Africa as well. I felt like if you had calculated the odds in the middle of the race between Spain, the Hungarian boat with Kisley and the Hungarian boat with Chepe, like I literally think the odds would have been dead even, like 33, 33, 33 right across the board, because that was how even it was. It was so good. Like they all looked really strong. I thought Panna Shinko and Panna Chepe looked like particularly good in kind of like the first half of the race. They looked really good on those portages. There was a moment where like Kisley made a slight error and I was like, oh, that could like put them behind a little bit. And then they recovered really quickly. And then, Tanya Alvarez and Tanya Fernandez, like we talked to them after the Sella. We knew how well they had gone at the Sella. They are like consistently a top 3, top 4 K2 crew at these world championships, loads of medals behind them. Like we knew they were a serious threat for the win as well. It was really good. Really good. Didn't know who was going to win that until the end.
Yeah, it was anyone's game until Tanya just took command from sort of the bottom turn, really. And from that moment, you were like, okay, they've made the move when it counts. And I think there was plenty of jostling like through the race where no one was really in command, but at that vital point when they needed to do it, they were the ones that took it.
Yeah, exactly. It was really cool to see it. And, like you say, behind them, it would have been great if we'd had a chase pack together. We didn't really get that. We had 2 South African crews. There's one that was sort of in fourth and sometimes with the front group, but was sort of consistently enough, just a bit of a step behind, that it didn't feel like they were quite as much of a threat for the podium. And then there was the second South African crew, but they were kind of a ways back. And then there was Melina and Ella from Sweden, who were a bit further back than I was expecting, really, from them. But Ella is, I think, still only 21 years old. And Melina had done quite a lot of racing already. So it seemed like maybe they didn't have quite as strong of a race as they were probably hoping for there. But yeah, still good racing. And there was a bit of a chase pack sort of later on, I think a group of 3 that were together.
If there had have been a bit more of a chase pack, and we know that Maria Ray didn't have a K2 out there, if there had have been a stronger second group, that South African K2 of Jade and Jenna, maybe they kept bridging the gap, but they were doing it all on their own, and they must have been gassed by the time every time they bridged that gap. If there had been a group that they could have actually worked together, they may well have been in the mix for the medals.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. A slightly stronger second group, and they could have been in the mix, because we saw that in other races, right, where a strong second group can catch back up to the first group and completely change things around. Hopefully we'll see that in future races. The level of the K2, the women's K2s, was really, really high, especially for those front 3. Really fun to see.
Yeah.
And I actually was fortunate to have the chance to talk to Tanya Alvarez and Tanya Fernandez after their K2 gold medal and ask them about their race and about their partnership. So here is that interview.
How does it feel for you right now?
Well, it's actually amazing being able to achieve another goal. Yes, last year we were fourth, so I think we could be actually very happy with the medal, but this gold medal is actually wow, stunning.
Can you tell me how the race played out?
Well, the main thing was being able to stay with the Hungarians. We know there were powerful girls. There was a medal. If we were able to go with the Hungarians, there was a medal there. That was what we wanted all the race. Being able to get stuck to them, don't let them go, and try to go passing the kilometers just with the Hungarians. And being very well positioned in tactical curves, very difficult curves. So I think that was the plan.
To be in the right place.
Yes.
In the right place.
Yeah, but you all were leading for a lot of the race too.
Yeah, I think that was very important to us, like, because when if you lead, you know you're in a good position, and you know that are they coming left or right. So
And we felt strong.
yeah, we felt
around
strong.
the race.
We know that if they're, because the South African girls were there sprinting, they were powerful also, and we know that they actually normally, because how the group span out, we know they had second washes, and we just needed to try to maintain in second washes, because of the curve and the current, there was very tactics in this race, trying to take people to getting them stuck behind us, because it's very difficult to come up from a second wash against the current. So I think that was the plan. Well, the thinking head in this vote is Tanya. I just need to follow and just go, and support her. She's the one who thinks. So
Okay, the brains.
we're a team, but she thinks.
That I asked her to what is her opinion, and I think that we make a good team.
Yeah, she asks me how you feel, what do you think about this, what do you think about that, and I say yes, no, let's come on. And sometimes
I do what I want, and sometimes I
like, no, don't do that. Yes, go, really do it.
Clearly it works.
This time, yeah.
Yes, this time. Oh my gosh, amazing. And then that final sprint, tell me about the finish.
Yeah,
we know that we run good, and this is one of our best points.
yeah, we know we're strong in the portage, and you
Yeah.
know that we know because of the course. If you run the last portage leading, you have great possibilities of getting a medal. So that's what we thought. Try to get to the last portage.
And we train a lot the last portage with the sprint.
Because we lost last year in the last sprint, so
Oh, smart. That is some good training then. Wow.
So,
Well,
yeah.
congratulations. Really, really incredible and great work.
thank you very much.
I just think that Tanya and Tanya are the loveliest K2 pair, and I'm so impressed by their like synchronicity and how well they work together, and their commitment to practicing that the last portage and the last sprint. And I also enjoyed what they said about, like, you know, they are putting themselves in positions tactically to try and kind of knock off some of the boats behind them, aren't they?
Yeah, I think that was quite impressive. It shows the level of racing in Spain. That there's you know, all that knowledge out there, and it was just lovely to see a crew so happy together. I know that they have just won gold, so they're going to be happier, but you know, they look like great friends as well as great paddling partners.
Yeah, I think so. And I was chatting with them a bit more, and they have known each other since they were around 12 years old.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Isn't that cool? And
that is really cool.
I think I guess were sort of starting paddling, around that age, and realized they were both named Tanya, and fate took it from there.
Yeah.
Yeah, really, really cool, and such a good example of, I think just like what takes your K2 to gold medals, and they've got a lot of medals behind this too. So yeah, really impressive.
Yeah, they do. Yeah.
And they made it a good race for us too.
Oh, they made a really good race for us. That was, brilliant.
Yeah, but let's talk a little bit about the singles racing. What did you think about the K1s?
Well, whilst the senior men's race was hugely impressive, and what unfolded was absolutely amazing, I was actually slightly disappointed in it because Mads was so dominant that he took away the suspense, and the race was over, and then I was like, oh well, I know who's going to win this race. From the very start, who's going to win this race. I mean, everyone suspected that the course was, almost made for Mads. It was perfect for the way he goes about racing. But he dominated, and it was just absolutely unbelievable to watch.
Yeah, it really was, and he took the lead. The first lap, there's no portages, so they came around the first lap. They come around to finish that, and they go past the portage, but they don't portage, and he's in the lead already from that point, and in the lead in a controlling way, right? Like, not just leading the group, in the lead where you're like, yeah, he's very happy and comfortable there. And then, the next time I saw him, just all alone and with a huge lead already. I mean, it's not like he went out alone by 50 meters or something. I mean, it was a really solid lead. And I think he only increased it as the race went on, which is amazing because he's got no wash to hang out there. I mean, he's got clean water, right?
Yeah.
And there's no one he's got to kind of jostle around with for position. But unbelievably dominant.
Yeah, but and then at that point, you have to start watching, the race unfold behind, which, I have spoken to people who said, no, it was just as exciting to sort of, watch that. But I think it's just, I need to feel that the gold is still available for my excitement. But there was some great racing from Nick Notton did some huge efforts to bridge gaps back to the group. He had some hugely impressive racing after sort of only really confirming his entry late the night before, I think.
Yeah.
It was amazing to watch Ivan Alonso's last race. It would be crazy to see a start line and not have Ivan Alonso in it. Realistically, though, I looked at that, and the top 15 was so strong, and anyone in that top 10 could have been a medal contender on a different day. Like if things had fallen differently, maybe it would have been a different order. But it's amazing that the standard of this marathon racing has improved so much in the last 10 years.
The speed on the water, the portaging. I think you've talked about what that portaging looked like 10 years ago. It was nowhere near the kind of smooth way that people portage now, right?
No. I mean, the amazing thing here was that Mads did that race at 4:04 pace and an average speed around the course. Now, I can definitely do that for a kilometer. I don't believe I've got 2 kilometers in me at the moment. And so anyone listening to this, have you seen when they get people on a treadmill to run at marathon pace for the top runners? Yeah. Put your GPS on and go to 40. I mean, I don't think it will go 4:04, but go to 4:05 pace and see how long you can hold it for, and then just imagine doing that for about 2 hours, give or take. 30 kilometers.
Yeah, it's pretty incredible. I did think that race, you know, I know you want the gold to be up for grabs. I did find it really exciting to see who was going to get the silver and bronze from that chase pack.
Yeah.
And we saw some good like movement in the chase pack too. It sort of like bifurcated at some point and then came back together, which was neat. And, you know, you mentioned Nick Naughton. He led some of that. There was a great moment. I was rewatching the live stream a bit where Nick Naughton is running through the portage, and it's the portage where he catches that front group, or he's like, he knows he's right about to catch them, and he is just grinning. And I think Ivan on commentary goes, "What is he so happy about?" And I was like, he's just caught the front group.
He looked unbelievably happy all weekend, but we will definitely be talking about Nick Naughton in one of the next few episodes, because I have a sneaky suspicion that he's going to do extremely well in Durban.
Yeah. I mean, it was really impressive, especially. And so, you know, we've talked so much about Hamish Lovemore. Unfortunately, Hamish got ill at the World Champs. And so he ended up not being able to race at all. So he had been signed up for both the K1 short course and the K1 long course, and had to pull out last minute, which I'm sure was devastating. But I mean, he's had such a good season and a very long season otherwise. But, you know, just a hard way to end it. And so that was, you know, Nick Naughton just stepped in at the last minute to take those spots. And I mean, to be kind of a last minute, if you were there to focus on K2 and instead you get dropped into K1 with the best in the world, and then you can, you know, catch back up to that front group and finish
4th or 5th. Both him and Jeremy Candy sort of made a mistake on that last portage, so it was a little bit hard to see.
Yeah, so for Naughton to, you know, lead that chase back to the front group, get into the front group, and then, you know, be there until the end. Little mistake on that last portage, which Jeremy Candy also had a slight slowdown there that took him out of podium contention. But yeah, 4th for Candy and 5th for Naughton. Really, really good and fun racing from those guys, and having those guys in that chase pack too, right? That's part of what made it more exciting to watch the race for 2nd and 3rd.
Yeah.
Do you think the race would have played out differently if Hamish Lovemore hadn't been ill?
That is a great question. So he has reacted well to Mads's attacks in recent races, and like I believe he's the only person to make the finishing sprint against Mads in a long course marathon
since 2022.
So since 2022, is that correct?
I think I'm pretty sure that's correct. Yeah.
When Mads fell in, but like I think that maybe some of the reason why Mads' attack worked really well was because he did it at a point where no one really expected him to do it. So maybe people, really weren't like ready to go. But if there was going to be anyone that was going to do it, I'd say it would have been Hamish. I think we didn't get to see this point because they were doing a medal ceremony at the time. But I think if I don't know where Andy Burkett was in that group, I would imagine if he was well placed to defend that attack, he would have done.
Yeah.
I imagine he was just slightly, further back than in a perfect position to defend it.
Yeah.
So yeah, maybe the race would have been different if Hamish had been there.
Yeah, it would have been interesting because I think the guys decided when Mads went, like, okay, he's gone and there's no point in trying to stay with him. Would Hamish have tried and been able to stay with him? And then if Hamish had tried that, would he have then been a bridge for any of the other guys like Andy Burkett? Maybe. Yeah,
maybe. Attacking that early in a race, like it's not a bad thing if you let that person go. Like you've got to be so strong to do that. Like the number of people that can make that attack stick and last to the end is thin in any sort of racing.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think from the way the race played out, that definitely seemed to be the right call for that group. Like it Andy Burkett I think was the strongest in that group, and he got the silver medal. And that, I think that was his, and I talked to him afterwards too. I think, obviously he was there for the gold, but wasn't able to keep pace with Mads. And I think that was sort of the best possible outcome. So yeah, hopefully we get to see that matchup next year between Lovemore, Burkett, and Pedersen.
Yeah, down in Argentina.
Yeah, that'd be great.
So what about you? Did any K1 races stand out to you?
Yeah, I really enjoyed definitely the senior women's race, which just that matchup between Vonda Kisley and Melina Anderson is so good to watch. And like, they were so close together too. And it came down to the final turn, and talking to them afterwards too, just like the sportsmanship and respect that they have for each other, and the joy that you can feel that they are each getting from racing the other, like, because they are both at such a high level, like they don't get to race other people at that level regularly. Right. And for them to just have that joy in matching up against a good rival, it just, it almost gives me chills. Like, it's so cool. So that I absolutely loved.
Did you see that they signed and swapped tops?
I did. Yeah. I mean, I just love this, like, truly, like, when you think about what great sort of sportsmanship and modeling looks like, they're both, and even afterwards, like, Vonda Kisley told me in my interview with her that there was a moment during the race where she got like some kind of bit of rubbish or something, like a plastic bag or something, stuck on the front of her boat, and she couldn't get it off, and she asked Melina to take it off, and she did.
That's awesome.
Because Melina is there for the rivalry. She's not there to, like, just be like, oh, I'll let a plastic bag take you out. No, she's like, she knows exactly. Vonda can stick with her.
You don't want that to be the reason.
Yeah. And I think she enjoys being able to have Vonda be able to stick with her and trade leads and paddle together. And I just love that. So that was good. But the more exciting race, I think, well, arguably, was the under 23 K1 women, because that was all three in that front group down to the final portage and the final sprint. And that was really fun. It was great to see the three women working together, and they're all super strong. And they also all were able to race up into the senior category really effectively, and then into the K2s, which is really fun to watch. So a lot of them did a lot of racing that weekend. So particularly Panachepe and Jade Wilson. But yeah, I think Panachepe in particular did a lot of that racing and just did really well. And I also had the chance to speak with all three of them after their racing. And that was really special to get to talk to all three of them too. Because it's always hard to get people after the races because they're getting mobbed by friends and family and fans. But yeah, it was really cool. So let's play those interviews now. We'll start with gold medalist Pernille Hastrup from Denmark. How was that race for you?
It was a perfect race for me. Besides from the start, everything just went after as planned, and I felt good.
You have had such a good season this year. Is this your best season ever?
Yeah, it must be. Yeah.
What is getting you such incredible results? Your World Games, I've loved following. It's amazing.
Yeah.
What's your secret?
I'm not sure, honestly. I've been training some different places this year, and I think they all gave me some different good things. So I study somewhere where I train a bit, and then I go to Silkeborg, a care club in Denmark sometimes.
Well, congratulations again. Can't wait to see where you go from here.
Yeah, thanks.
And here is silver medalist Panachepe from Hungary.
Congratulations on your race.
Thank you.
How did that go for you?
I think I could do everything I wanted to. I tried to do all the turns and the difficult parts very well. I think I could manage. All the other competitors were very strong, and it was very great racing with them.
That's great. Was there a highlight of the race for you, like the best moment of it?
Oh, of course, the hometown and I am not from here, but from Hungary, and it felt very, very great and empowering that Hungarians cheered for me and my family and friends.
Oh, that's so cool. Did that spur you on?
Oh yeah.
Thank you so much, Panda.
Thank you.
And here's Jade Wilson, bronze medalist from South Africa.
The race was very tough from the get-go. The start was very fast. I didn't have the best start, to be quite honest, so I had to dig really deep to get back onto the front bunch, and I managed to get back onto the front bunch when they made the break around the turn. And then I just hung on for dear life, survived the first lap, survived the first portage, and the group broke obviously after the first portage, and I managed to stay there. And I kept calm throughout the whole race. I'm pretty stoked, and I did it for my coach Pete. I raced for him today. It was really tough to get your world champs. I didn't know if I could actually do it. I really struggled after he passed away. So yeah, it's been really tough to get you, but I'm really stoked that I managed to come top 3 and get my first ever K1 single. And I've really been overwhelmed by the support of so many people back at home and here. All my fellow Team South Africans been blown away with the support and the belief in me.
Yeah, so I thought that under 23 race was really good. And then, of course, Paracanoe went on to get her bronze in the K2. Yeah, which was really cool. And Pernille Haastrup training in Silkeborg. That is, I think, where Mads Pedersen and Philip Knudsen train. So I'm sure she was able to get some good coaching and competition there.
Yeah, I mean, so impressive that Paracanoe did 70 kilometers of racing over those 3 days. That's amazing.
That's a good calculation. Yeah, what a stat.
Yeah.
I'm sure she puts a lot of mileage in regularly, but still, that's tough for anyone. And she raced it all really well too. She didn't even seem to be flagging. So, yeah, and I think that women's K1 race, the senior women we talked about, that rivalry between Melina and Wanda was so good. I did think in that race that we were going to maybe see 3 and 4 come back together, which was Anna Sletsko and Rebecca Mann. And I thought that would have been really fun to watch because it, obviously would have created a little more drama and a little bit more of a fight for the bronze. Rebecca Mann had dropped off the front pack earlier in the race, and then Anna Sletsko dropped off a bit later. But Rebecca was closing the gap on her, which was amazing to see.
Yeah, Rebecca was going really well here. I saw her in person on the short course and then on the live stream, and she was probably somewhat disappointed with the World Games, but it was good to see her back on top form.
Yeah, definitely. Really, really impressive. And I also got the chance to speak with Anna Sletsko after that race and hear from her that she just, she knew that Rebecca was a threat, and she knew she had to stay ahead of her, that she couldn't drop back and, share the wash with Rebecca, because if she did that, her bronze could be at risk. So she was really working hard, even though she ended up paddling a fair bit by herself after getting dropped by Melina and Wanda. She knew she had to just work that hard to stay in that position. Otherwise, Rebecca could potentially take that bronze. So I think it was definitely the right strategy for Anna Sletsko, and really impressive racing from her as well, even though it didn't give us quite as much drama as viewers.
Yeah.
And let's do sort of an honorable mention for the junior boys and girls K1 races too, because those made for some really fun watching, especially the junior girls race, which had some unfortunate incidents where 2 of the girls actually ended up in the medical van. I think they were fine, fortunately, but really unexpected drama there. And then the junior boys race was really good watching too, where things kind of didn't play out the way it looked like they necessarily would from the beginning. So that was really fun too. I think we've got to move on to our standout paddlers, but one final race that I want to mention, because we haven't talked about the Paracanoe racing yet, which was definitely a big highlight of the week, was the men's KL2 and KL3 10K para race, because that was really exciting to see. Really like some sort of proper marathon racing in the para category, because there was just sort of enough people and enough skill and speed on the line to make that a good race.
Yeah, that's really good to see that this is, you know, a growing category and getting more competitive at World Championships. It's great.
Yeah, there was about 20 boats or so on the start line, I think.
Yeah, there was. I think it's the biggest para start ever, including John White, friend of the show.
Yeah, it was really exciting. And, you know, talking to John about that, I know he said, obviously, he's used to being on big start lines because he's paddling against non-para athletes regularly.
Yeah.
But for having so many athletes all in the KL2 and KL3 categories. And I think for him, it's nice to have the KL3s there because it gives him a little bit more of a chance to maybe catch a wash from a KL3 boat. Because he was quite fast in the KL2. So, yeah.
The biggest shock for me was Yemelinov not winning. Couldn't believe it.
Oh my God. I couldn't believe it either. I was so shocked that when I interviewed him afterwards, I accidentally said, "Congratulations on your gold medal." And it was a silver medal. Which is very embarrassing for me. But yeah, I mean, I think he was probably a bit shocked too.
Yeah, probably, yeah.
But really impressive from the Spanish paddler, Nicolas Martinez. Really, really impressive from him, and exciting to see someone who's able to actually challenge Yemelinov, at least in the marathon. I think he probably still has the sprint pretty well covered. And exciting to see the level of competition. And I went back to watch that one on the stream as well. And they have got a really good pack of four in a really nice formation for a lot of that race. Which again, yeah, normally you don't have enough people at the same speed who are all in the para category to get to put on that kind of racing. So pretty exciting. I did think the coverage, unfortunately, of that racing was not quite as good as it could have been, because we ended up, the cameras spent a lot of time on kind of like paddlers who were, I mean, there were several races going on at the same time for para, right? Which is tricky.
Yeah.
But the camera did spend a lot of time on like people who are paddling by themselves, which is not where the action is. And then it meant that we ended up actually missing the point where that front pack of four broke up and Yemelinov got knocked off the gold medal, where that was so surprising. So it was, I think, a bit disappointing to actually have, when we finally had such great action in that para category to watch and a really good battle, to not have that kind of done justice on the stream was a bit disappointing.
Yeah, it's a shame when you don't see the vital moments. I was still there on the Thursday to watch the open racing, which had numerous categories, but would have been, from my point of view, really good if on the big screen or the commentators were able to sort of say, perhaps in the athlete's own words, what disability they had, because the open category had such a wide variety of disabilities. It was really difficult to sort of understand the racing. And I think if anyone sort of is, you know, sat at home watching this with a disability, it would be really good if they were then able to say, to you know, match it up and take some inspiration from someone that's racing and know that actually, you know, you can go to the World Championships and race with some of these disabilities that people may have.
Yeah, I think it's a neat idea. It's really interesting. I had the chance to speak with John Edwards, who's on the ICF's Paracanoe committee, and was actually one of the figures instrumental in kind of pioneering the early building of Paracanoe as a discipline. And it was just kind of enlightening to see how much they are dictated to by the IPC, so the International Paralympic Committee, which would be the, I guess, sort of sister organization of the International Olympic Committee. And so it's the IPC that determines, what the impairment categories are. And then I think it's sort of up to the ICF to determine sort of what falls into, say, like open versus KL2, KL3, KL1, VL1, VL2, VL3. And so that was a question that came up when I was asking about like different disabilities or impairments that were not sort of included. And the answer to that is very much like that would be up to the IPC essentially to start that. But yeah, I do think, to your point, it could be useful because it's really cool to see the open category allowing paddlers with impairments that do not sort of necessarily fit what we typically see in KL1, 2, or 3 be able to actually paddle in a category. And of course, the numbers are still small. But I do think that would be neat to kind of allow athletes to speak about them in their own words and then kind of, incorporate that into the stream to add context. But yeah, generally great to see. And it was the first year that it was official para world championships. So they got like official world championship medals. We talked about that a bit in the preview. It was a bit confusing because it turned out you only got that official title if there were 6 people in your category. So there ended up not being that many categories that had the full 6. But it was hugely exciting to see, again, like biggest numbers yet, first official world championships. And I think a big opportunity for growth in the sport, as well as for just like increasing access as well, which is pretty cool. So yeah, looking forward to seeing how that continues to develop over the next few years, because I think it's moving in a positive direction. So let's move on to standout paddlers. Thanks for listening to Paddlecast. We are a podcast made by paddlers for paddlers and paddling fans. And we have an amazing audience who we reach through the podcast as well as through social media and YouTube and online.
We love making this podcast and we love highlighting all the best paddling from around the world. But at the moment, it's not sustainable without a sponsor.
So if you are a sponsor or you know a sponsor who is interested in reaching that audience and supporting Paddlecast, please get in touch. Thanks so much. Back to the episode. So let's move on to standout paddlers. I know this is a really, really hard category because there were so many incredible performances. We have already talked about some of those already. So we'll just try and keep it limited as much as we can to people who maybe like massively outperformed expectations or, did much better than we were expecting. So where do you want to start, Billy?
Oh, I would like to start with Will Short. We did expect a lot from him, which we talked about before, but still, his short course was hugely impressive. In the heat, he actually had the paddles across his lap because he was told the heartbeats noise would stop before they started, and it started with it still playing. So he put himself in a terrible position there, but made up the ground. He also had a pretty bad start in his short course final, but he put himself in a position to actually break away on the first portage, which was amazing. So he then went and did the junior boys long course and was ill during the race, so dropped out, but then recovered in time for the junior boys K2 to get silver on Sunday with his K2 partner, Alex Morgan. So gold on Thursday, vomiting on Saturday, and silver on Sunday, like a really bad Craig David song.
Yeah, it was really impressive. I think we expected a lot from him, and he still managed to outperform those expectations, especially that gold in the short course. And I loved, talking with him afterwards. He was saying he heard Charlie Smith, a GB teammate, shouting from the side, "Go, go, go!" And he just went. And I think Charlie was just, yelling encouragement. I don't think it was necessarily so tactical. But Will took it as a go, and he went, and it worked, and he took the win. And I think that was really cool to see. And one of those things where sometimes, it just takes a bit of encouragement, and that's what kind of gets you to do better maybe than you even expected. And really unfortunate end for him on the long course with the illness, but to be able to then kind of recover from that and come back and put his best foot forward with the K2. I think he was definitely feeling the illness, especially, during that race as he was getting more tired from working so hard after being ill the previous day, and probably a little bit that day too.
But they're such a great K2. They really like they have had third at Euros, second at Worlds. They race incredibly well. They've done a really long season now, starting with some great waterside races, which we talked about on some of the very first Paddlecast podcasts. They're now both stepping up to under 23. They deserve some time off now at the end of the season, but I think they're going to be good at under 23 level. Might take them a little while to settle in, but what a crew.
Yeah, and I think maybe let's put Alex Morgan in that bucket too of paddlers who really impressed us, because I think, as you say, like, he is a really, really good K2 partner. Will is the faster paddler in that boat, but Alex is just watching how in sync he was with Will, and they had a couple of little portage issues, and he was able to just like move right on from that, keep things going. And I think when Will was struggling a bit too from the illness later on in that race, knowing he had Alex behind him, it's not always easy to be a great K2 partner.
Yeah, I think this is a perfect example of a K2 that's greater for some of its parts.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. I think you had another paddler you wanted to mention too.
Yeah, another junior boy, Sean Butterley. So, I mean, whilst Sean's race was brilliant, and you are going to mention a bit about that next, my favorite part was the video of John Simmons. He's the coach at Salmon Leap Canoe Club. It seems John produces a near constant stream of medal contenders from a really small pool of paddlers. From talking to John, he told me how it's a great squad of athletes who support one another day in, day out. And the number one thing is that they all enjoy the process. And the video of John celebrating Sean's win is just so emotional and so lovely to see.
It's so cool to see that kind of positive community. And Sean did have a great race, Sean Butterley from Ireland. And I think if they've got that kind of community that you're talking about, and that kind of approach and attitude, that stream of talented paddlers is only going to continue for years to come and build and build.
Yeah.
I was also impressed in that junior boys race by the AIN paddler, Ivan Nekrasov, who ended up with a bronze medal. And he had some interesting tactics. He came out really hot, and it looked like he had been way too aggressive at the beginning. He didn't even want to let any of the other boys lead. He was determined to kind of stay in that leading position. And I think he got a fair bit of flack for it from the commentators. But what became clear as that race went on is Ivan is a sprinter. He got the world championship title in the juniors racing in the 1,000-meter race earlier this year. And he did not have great portaging technique. And I don't know how much time he has even spent doing the marathon racing. And so I was actually thinking, like, he looks like he's working way too hard to stay in front, but that's kind of the choice that you have to make if you know you're going to lose ground on those portages, and that maybe you don't have the same ability to do, great pack racing that boys like Sean Butterly do, for example. And so I actually ended up, and, he got the bronze medal out of it. So I ended up thinking, initially it looked like maybe those were not great tactics, but I think for him individually, with his sort of strengths and weaknesses, he had probably about the best race that he could, which maybe he wouldn't have had if he hadn't, forced himself into that leading position for so long.
Yeah, that could well be correct. Then another standout performer in the junior girls category for me was Dianora De Billo. She is a really cool paddler. She's only 16, so she's got plenty of time to grow into this junior ladies category. She was 4th at the Europeans, and she managed to come away from here with a bronze medal at the Worlds. So amazing. But she's at your club, so you might know a little bit more about her.
She is, yeah. Dianora is so committed. She is just a really, she's a good paddler, and I think she trains very, very hard, and she's really just committed to doing well in the sport. And so it's really nice to see her have that kind of reward of the medal, very well deserved, from someone who puts so much into what she does. And especially being so young, I think I'm excited to see how the next couple of years go for her, even just within the junior category, because it's looking really good so far. So really happy for Dianora.
Yeah, that's really cool.
And then the under 23 men, I think we had a call out here, the Mads Pedersen mini-me.
Yeah, Philip Knudsen, I believe, has now completed a clean sweep. I could be wrong, but I believe he's won a medal every year he's competed at under 23 men, which is hugely impressive. I hope I'm right in that. But, he's going to step up to senior level next year. I think he'll do very well. Maybe he won't medal immediately, but he's going to be well up there in the mix.
Yeah, really impressed with him. Obviously not a surprise to see him win. He was the favorite going into it, but nonetheless, very impressive. And then, he went on to do that K2 with Mads Pedersen, which I think the senior men's field, I think, is a bit harder to break into from under 23. Compared to in a direct comparison with the senior women's too, but he raced it with Mads and they came out with a silver medal.
Yeah, amazing, wasn't it?
Yeah, and he's, he and Mads, I think, are training partners, so he's learning from the best, spending a lot of time with him. I have to imagine Mads wants someone who's able to actually challenge him too at that level. He's so far ahead.
Yeah,
he's probably happy to have someone who can work hard to try and push him. Another big standout for me, I think we mentioned her briefly earlier, but we've really got to give her flowers, is Rebecca Mann. She just worked so hard in that senior women's K1 race to try to catch back up for bronze. She made up ground on a good chunk of it. It's hard, like, mentally, to be alone for so much of that race and, have that bronze position in sight and still be motivated to work so hard to catch up. 4th is the same result that she got last year. And I suspect, maybe because she is based in Australia, she maybe doesn't have quite as much opportunity to race against, similar speed women as some of the European-based paddlers have. Like you said, she had a slightly disappointing World Games, but she paddled really, really well. And I'd love to see her, maybe get into the medals in the future.
Yeah, that would be hard. I'm going to digress slightly here, but Rebecca Mann is one of the paddlers that to me showed just how hard it is. Like, and I'm almost going in as a season whole here, like how hard it is at the top. And you can't have a bad day at the office. And if you do, your results suffer. So like Rebecca Mann didn't go very well at the World Games. I don't know what happened. We don't know if there's a backstory there, but she didn't go very well, and which led me to believe that maybe she wasn't going to go very well in at the World Championships. John Vold didn't go very well at these World Championships, but compared the rest of his season was incredible at Sprint World Cups, at Europeans, the World Games. He did really well until he got heat stroke. James Russell, European champion, but then World Games, he didn't go quite so well. And then at the World Championships, didn't have the best weekend. Paracanoe performed like loads better at the World Games and at these World Championships. And at the Euros, he was nowhere. And it shows just how fine the margins are and how hard it is to get it right every time and perform on the day.
Yeah, absolutely. It just takes, and I mean, even, Melina Anderson had a tiny misstep on her short course race that lost her the gold medal. I mean, it's Melina Anderson. She still came away with a silver.
Yeah, I was stood right there. Yeah, it was, such fine margins.
Yeah, and I think, Anna Sletsko is another standout for me. And she was, of course, in that race too, where she took the bronze. And this was a huge standout season for her. She had won her last international medal, I think she told me, in like 2019. And now she's won several this year, both in the sprint and in the marathon, which was really exciting to see. And one of the big takeaways from talking with her that I had was that she did the K4 racing at the Olympics. And that boat went well. They made the A final. And that was a really big sort of level up for her in the K1 racing. Focusing so much on K4 in that Olympic cycle leading up to Paris, racing in Paris. And that is, what's gotten her doing so well in K1 this season. I think that was really cool to hear about that crossover from, the team boats to the individual boats, and like what it takes to level up and what can help certain paddlers take that step up. It's similar, I think, to what we've seen from a few breakout paddlers this season. So Anna Poloska from Poland, who did so well at the World Cups in sprint. She's a team boat paddler. And that had been her main focus. Now she's, winning world medals in K1. Jackson Collins was won the gorge in surf ski. We've talked about him. He was in that Australian K4 at the Olympics that medaled, which was so impressive. And then, that's really translating to his singles paddling, of course. Gordon Harbrecht too. I think he had a K4 background, right?
Yeah, German K4.
Yeah, and now, reigning world champion in surf ski. We'll see if he defends that successfully in Durban. That preview will be coming up. But yeah, I think it's really cool. So let's sort of just take a step back now and last section here, reflecting on that bigger picture. I really felt like I gained new levels of insight in Gyor. What were your overarching reflections?
Yeah, so I left Gyor with some things in mind to improve on. I'm sure everyone else has. Maybe people think they need to improve their portaging. People need to get a faster start, improve their endurance. But it's the time of year now where every marathon paddler will be putting together a plan to improve next year. And one of the things that I think everyone should do is go back and watch these races, and you'll really learn about how these top paddlers race. So these are the absolute top paddlers in the world, pushing the envelope of the sport. And so like 10 years ago, we had Adrian Boros getting in at the portage. The boat didn't stop. It was maintaining like forward momentum at all times. And that's fairly standard now with people portaging. And, if anyone's still learning the basics of marathon tactics, like one great thing to do is watch the races back, knowing who won, and monitor where those paddlers were. Like, when did they get to the front of a group? When do those stronger paddlers allow the weakest in the group to go to the front? And that shows you where the most important features are of a race, and when there's a dead spot, in the race. And over time, you'll learn to sort of read the races, and then when you enter a race, you'll sort of, I think, understand it in the same way, and you'll be able to, know when you don't need to lead hard, or when you need to hit the front of a group.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just so enlightening, and I felt, at a sort of different level of takeaways for someone who's not that level of marathon paddler. I still had, I think, takeaways for the more, I'll say this really for anyone, even if you're nowhere near the level of the paddlers who are out there, the way that the top paddlers handled their mistakes was so impressive. And I was, I had a great position for a lot of the race right by the get out on that portage. And I did see a number of mistakes, right? And that was, the women's K2 race on that last day. Vonda Kisley's K2 partner, Zofia Serafin, she got out of the boat and started picking up the bow just like a half second before Vonda was totally out and ready for it. And Vonda's foot caught and she tripped. But you wouldn't know it from seeing how they recovered. Like, it just did not faze her. She was out, she was running, and it didn't disrupt them at all. And I saw a lot of paddlers who had those types of mistakes who it did faze them. And it just completely stalled them. They stopped. They, maybe it was the kind of mistake where they would get some more water in the boat, dumped water, and you can kind of like see the frustration happen. And that's happening from a lot of the, still very good paddlers too. And then I also saw Will and Alex in the junior boys K2 race. Alex's top got caught on the boat on the first portage, and they're right up there, and it literally, it just drags on the boat and he's stuck to it. Like, it's really disruptive. One of those things that can just totally send you off track in the middle of one of these races. And he just was not fazed, kept running, like yelled at Will to keep running. Will kept going. And they were able to, recover almost immediately. And I think that mentality, and, talking to Melina, who had that little issue on her short course, she said she came out of that. She was like, no more rookie mistakes. Like, I'm going into that long course with the win. Paddlers who would also then tell me, like Anna Sletscha, right? She was so careful on those portages when she was in that position by herself. Like, paddlers who know when it's better to maybe take an extra moment to be really careful, and that's worth it to avoid a mistake, and who also know when they do make a tiny mistake, who are able to just immediately recover from it and not let it mentally send them off track. That was really impressive to see. And I think that for me was one of my big takeaways.
I noticed that in the senior men's K2, everyone was going to that far corner. When it's the fastest point to go. And I noticed that Mads just went slightly further back in sort of more of a middle of the portage. And he kept a cleaner line. And you just think, yeah, do you know what? That was just some sensible racing there. Just stay out of trouble. stay there until the end when the group will be smaller. You don't need to put yourself in that position where you're liable to get something go wrong for you with a crew running in fast from behind.
Yeah. So much is about putting yourself in kind of like safe positions, right? Yeah, and that will pay off.
So I have a slight moan, and I believe that the scheduling needs to be looked at, because I don't believe that the senior women should be sharing the course with another class. And it doesn't sit well that junior boys, under 23 boys, and senior men get the course completely to themselves. And, I think I understand that the schedule is absolutely tight as anything, but these are serious athletes and they train all year. And I don't believe that they should be sharing the course with, whoever it is. I think it's canoes, but it doesn't matter who they're sharing it with. They deserve the course themselves.
Yeah, I agree. It is really tough because the scheduling, it's a lot to pack in a small period of time. And I don't know what the sort of cost would be to add an extra day and give.
Oh, a day, that's a lot. Yeah.
Well, I know, or half day or something.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it is frustrating to see some of these events where you've got multiple races happening at the same time, and it's clear that like it's not great for them to be on the course together. And then it also kind of splits attention from what's often really good women's racing. And it is the women's kayakers who end up kind of getting the short stick.
And for whatever reason, the entries in the ladies category is much lower. And it's not because they have to share the course, but I think we should be doing more to promote it and increase those numbers.
Yeah, agreed.
I have a positive to end the podcast on, and that was how much fun. Yeah, we're not going to end on the moment. The big positive for me was how much fun I had in the mixed Masters K2. And I wasn't due to enter it. It was a last minute entry. I had to twist Gina's arm a little bit to do it. And we raced in a boat that wasn't necessarily a very competitive boat, but we raced in what was available to us, and we had the best time. I mean, I had the best time. Gina said that she thought I was crazy, but it was so much fun, and we have made provisional plans to enter the Europeans mixed race.
Oh my God. Oh, I'm so excited for you. That sounded really fun. And you got to race against Hank and Pips McGregor.
We were racing against Hank and Pips and Bridget Hartley. And so like before the start, I pointed over to Bridget and I said to Gina, there's a Olympic medalist there. And I think she was just like, don't tell me that.
She's like, that's not the most helpful thing on the start line.
No, I don't think it was. But it was just a brilliant race. And I think we both loved it.
That is awesome. I do love the mixed racing. Let's make that our scheduling point. Add a day and add in some mixed racing and then ease up the schedule. Cool. That'll be my my solution to it. Yeah, I think it's really fun. And they've done some more mixed racing in the sprints the last few years, which has been cool. And it's just fun, isn't it?
What about a relay? A lap each?
Yeah. They did some relays in the sprint course in Milan, I think, which looked
where I stole the idea from.
Chaotic. Yeah. I thought you were stealing the idea from the Thames 200 Ultra.
I could have done, yeah. Anyone, a relay, one lap each. Send a mixed K2 round, then you send your men's K2, then your ladies K2. The whole team has to show.
That would be fun. I like that. K2 relay, men's, women's, and mixed.
Yeah, and I would actually put this on the Monday after the after party. Yes,
that's it. There we go. Okay, well, we've solved all of the problems.
Exactly.
All right, this has been a very long one, and thanks to anyone who's made it all the way through. Hopefully you have enjoyed it as much as we have. We still have lots more to talk about this season, so stay tuned for the next one. And until then, see you on the water.
See you on the water, everyone.